When it comes to telling a persuasive story, how you present the theme matters a lot. Theme, to note, is way more than just justice, tradition, grief, capitalism, or whatever else often gets thrown out. That's not a meaningful use of theme for creative writers because it's vague. If I said that the topic of One Piece is about freedom, that doesn't provide anything direction-wise for a creator. It's just a topic. It's a foundation at most, but theme goes much deeper than that. Theme is a statement about the value of or trouble caused by an element of human existence. Theme is perspective. It's what you have to actually say about an element of existence and its relationship with a specific outcome. Freedom is just a topic. Freedom is necessary for personal fulfillment is a thematic message which you can try to get across through your story. If simplified, it becomes freedom is good or freedom leads to fulfillment. I can extend this talk on theme into much more. Here's a small peek at what I could be going over with theme when it comes to truth. But what we're going to focus on in this is the idea of presenting the topic as a positive or a negative. Often, the writer's goal with theme is to convince the audience of something being the truth. This is why it's the peak of the pyramid of interest, to reach someone. When done right, theme imparts upon the audience something that gives them the tools they need to overcome real-world problems. Like how the Assassin's Creed franchise deepened my belief that I should actively engage with and question the world to find my own truths. Now, the message could be personal, the message could be societal. It doesn't really matter in this context. The important takeaway here is that theme is meant to persuade people towards accepting something as true. And that's what brings us back around to that statement I opened with. When it comes to telling a persuasive story, how you present the theme matters a lot. And that brings us to an issue I find occur far too often in the present. There are many in the world who, in trying to persuade others to their stances, do more harm to their stances than those of the opposing side. They often present topics as being one-sided, with anything that doesn't support their beliefs or ideas that they present being discarded. If there's a certain type they don't like, the character often ends up stereotypical or underdeveloped. It just makes everything, well, black and white. Absolutism isn't persuasive. It's preachy. Preaching just validates and reinforces the beliefs of those who already believe in something. It doesn't persuade. It can't persuade because it tries to brute force a message onto someone, as opposed to convincing them of its virtue. Brute forcing seldom works because, to quote the book Chinese Wisdom, harmony cannot be enforced on people from the outside. For harmony to radiate outwards, it has to be inwardly actualized. If anything, all it does is encourage people to either resist something or disregard it entirely, which is, needless to say, counterproductive to one's message. So, if you really want to get something across, you need to instead explore, present the different sides of a topic, and allow the audience to reach their own conclusions based on the evidence provided. In the writing world, the way one can do this is with four corners opposition. For those who don't know what this technique is, it's when a writer takes a topic and gives four sides to represent and explore different perspectives on said topic. For instance, using One Piece, groups like the Straw Hat Pirates represent the perspective that freedom is paramount. They're pirates, but they operate with a strong moral compass, and them being outside of the system allows them to do things like oppose tyranny that others within the system might not be able to do. This, in fact, is key to one of the key conflicts throughout the series, which is best represented in the Straw Hat Pirates being the freedom to the world government's authority. If this was a simple series, we'd have characters like Luffy set up to go against those like Admiral Akainu, an extremist who believes in order no matter what it takes to achieve it, the murder of innocent civilians included. We just have Luffy as some pure good freedom-aligned guy who is outside of the system that supports slavery, racism, genocide, and other things I'd rather not go into here. And it would just tout freedom as always being right. And it would make every single authority figure the crew runs into as disgusting stereotypes of a bad leader. But that's not what One Piece does. Piracy isn't portrayed as purely positive. There are many characters who embody the stereotypical view of piracy. They're selfish, ruthless, and power hungry. They seek freedom and rebellion too, but their methods are often immoral and destructive. These characters represent the darker side of pursuing one's desires without regards to others, serving as a case example of how just acting however one pleases doesn't necessarily make one right or serve everybody's best interest. They present an argument against freedom. Likewise, there are plenty of good Marines who represent the law and order side of the world. There are people who genuinely believe in maintaining peace and justice, and often stand against the excess and crimes of piracy. And, with the government side of things, there are plenty of good leaders who genuinely care about their people and try their best for their kingdoms. They serve as a good argument for why order is needed, and how governments can be a positive thing in people's lives, especially when not everybody wishes to be a pirate. I view this technique as the literary equivalent of the marketplace of ideas, the rationale for freedom of expression. When you do this, you encourage the audience to engage with the story critically and examine each viewpoint presented for themselves. By acknowledging the pros and cons of each side of a topic, you force the audience to vet ideas and, if your stance is truly as strong as you believe, it convinces people to accept and embrace whatever as the truth. It becomes more meaningful since they chose it, as opposed to having it forced upon them. For those who do wonder how they can share their opinion and acknowledge others at the same time, the solution I take is quite simple. Instead of thinking purely from a position of, this is right, the opposite is wrong, I instead shift my thinking to something that acknowledges greatness while still encouraging choice. I instead focus on creating a case that my side is either the lesser of evils or the greater of goods. For instance, using One Piece again, having positive, well-intentioned Marines like Garp and Kobe, people who generally wish to protect the innocent people of the world from harm, makes one think even harder on if the side they're on is indeed the better or worse option when compared to lawbreakers. Since, after all, for them to do their duty, they must also not interfere with a group that takes part in, again, slavery, racism, genocide, and other things I'd rather not discuss at the moment. It takes these characters who are multifaceted people that we can see are more than just the enemy and help us better understand why this route isn't the lesser of evils or greater of goods between those presented. And on the flip side, having characters like Orlong, Crocodile, Big Mom, and Blackbeard helps to showcase an awareness of one's own side's potential failings, which can be surprisingly more convincing since it shows a willingness to acknowledge and address the issues. All in all, it makes for a more rewarding thematic experience that offers up rich characters, enhances audience engagement, reflects real-world complexity, fosters critical thinking, and can help avoid instantly alienating those who disagree with the presented viewpoint. It presents a theme in a manner that can better reach those who it hasn't reached yet. Or at least, that's what I think as of now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter in the comments. Also, last but not least, don't forget that the pyramid of reader interest puts theme at the top for a reason. You can't get your message across if you're failing to do things like entertain. If you want some help understanding how to entertain, check out this reference guide I made on the 10 entertainment emotions.